I'm gonna get out here and get a quick walk, taking a break while some videos are compressing for me. And it's about to go down. Let's get it. I don't have much time. I have a meeting coming up, so. Yeah, today's a good day, you guys. First, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe below for sure. Subscriber. So, I have decided that I'm letting go of my 9 to 5. Ooh. Yeah, the end of our fiscal year, which is September 30th or 31st. I think there's only 30 days in September. So yeah, I have been struggling with this for a while. I've been wanting to branch out on my own. As you guys know, I work as a graphic designer. I love what I do. I have an art degree, a Bachelor of Science in Graphic Design. So I've been at that whole career for 10 years solid. I graduated from art school June 2012. And so I, even before art school, I was doing a little stuff. I was in the music industry as a rapper, but I also took on some skill sets and learned Photoshop. So I was doing little side stuff. I wasn't like super versed in the fundamentals of graphic design at that time, but it's already artistic. My first career was working as a hairdresser / barber. My whole life I've always been artistic. So when you're artistic, it usually spreads across multiple areas. So you just have to find out what that is. So it was nice. Being a hairdresser was nice. It was a nice visual art, but it wasn't where I wanted to end up. And I had plans to go to this Musicians Institute and study and music engineering, and the next thing that I was going to have to move from Northern California to Southern California. And my dad was saying, hey, if you can do this whole thing on your own and not need anyone's help and do it successfully without struggling, then go for it. And so I started thinking about it, like, oh wow, he's a smart dude. He always wanted us to get higher education. That was his whole sacrifice for going into the military, getting out of Alabama and just getting a life, to build a future for his family that was different from the life that he had to live. So I respected that. Needless to say, I contemplated, and I feel like that was like a Sunday when we had that conversation. So I talked about it with myself. And I decided that's not going to be a smart move. It took a couple days, maybe like a Wednesday. I think it was like a Wednesday from that Sunday. And I decided I'm not going to go to this Musicians Institute. I'm going to sit tight. I didn't know what my next plan was, but I knew. I just felt the energy, like, he's giving me good advice, so I need to think it through. So I ended up not going. And I made that decision. That was a Wednesday. And I didn't even get a chance to tell him. He had his second heart attack. God, I can't do this. So anyway, he had his second heart attack. He, struggled with some health things. And so he went under, and he never really came back out of the coma. So I didn't get to tell him personally, but I feel like he knew. Like that was his last piece to leave with me. I'm so grateful. Rest in peace, Master Sergeant Jimmy L. Hardy, the man with the master plan for sure. So, yeah. But that was the start of my new path. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I was relieved that I wasn't gonna, it would have been not a good move to take out loans and spend more money that I already had, borrowed enough to go to school, sort of blindly feeling my way through colleges, trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do. So he passed away, and one of our good family friends, she's like our sister, she had a production company, and so she hired me on as a production assistant. And hey, how you guys doing? Much better weather today, yeah? Yeah.
But later on it's gonna be hot.
Oh, is it? I'm glad I'm getting it done today then. Yeah. See ya. It was a tough time, Pops had just passed. And I was in a really transitional area, and her, she was into video. I was not into that yet. I'm into that now, but I wasn't into that just yet, so. But it was nice to rub elbows and just see what was going on with, the production world. And so I just, I did odd stuff. I was a hustler, and she was a family friend. And so, yeah, I was working for her, and there was a graphic designer that they worked with. And this was back in it had to be 2007. And the graphic designer was like $50 an hour. And in my mind, I was like, wow, that's good money. Like, boosh, $50 an hour. And she did good work too. I saw one of the projects, and I was like, oh, wow, that's way doper than any Photoshop album cover I've ever whipped out for myself or anybody. But yeah, so that was dope. But anyway, one day she came in, she's like, oh, in sort of a panic. She was like, I was supposed to have this cover done for one of her speakers, an event that she was getting ready to promote or do a production for, and the graphic designer was tied up and didn't have time to do the cover, so she was panicking. And I was like, oh, I could do it. And she's like, nah. I was like, I could, let me try. And so I whipped out my little computer and Photoshop, did that little thing. Like, I felt like a natural, like it just seemed simple. So she was impressed. She was like, oh my God, you did that? And I was so proud, like, yeah, like to me it was nothing. Like, I've been doing these little album covers and things, so I sort of had a good handle in Photoshop. That was my first experience with the Adobe suite. And she was like, you should get formal training. And bing, the light bulb went off. Shouts out to MJ for putting the extra, ring into my mind. And I was like, I'm gonna check it out. So anyway, long story short, we were on vacation in Vegas. It was our dad had planned a vacation in Vegas every year because he had a timeshare. And so even though he passed, we still did the vacation. It was sort of depressing. My mom was really struggling. We were all really struggling. It was just a lot. But of course, good old Val Reezy, big sis. We were chopping it up in my suite, and I was like, I need to do something. So I told Val Reezy, I was like, I think I want to pursue this art institute. What do you think? Let's go visit the campus and see. And she was like, yes. There was one in San Francisco. It was the Art Institutes of California, and there was a couple different ones. And so I don't know, long story short, it all worked out. I did the application. I took out another loan, a private loan, of course, but I took my butt up to SAC and enrolled into that school and did that shit for a full year. And I was like knocking it out. I was learning so much. There were so many areas that I needed to develop. I don't hand render much, so I had to learn how to draw. I learned perspective. I learned grid systems. I learned fundamentals of design. I learned a lot of valuable things, but it still took me a little while to get through because money was tight. And so I ended up moving from Sacramento in with my big bro, my bromager, because he was like halfway from the Silicon Valley to SAC. So I was able to still commute to school. I think I was only going 3 days a week or maybe 2 days a week. Bish. I don't know, I just took off running. I was a lot older than most of the students there, so I was just in that program, super appreciating my time. I knew what I was paying. It was coming out of the pocket. I took out the hell of Fed loans, whatever I could do. Like, I just knew, like, I just got to get this degree. Like, this is what it is. This is what my dad did this for. I need to make it happen. And so I graduated with my associate degree associate science graphic design, and it's like, okay, one more year only to get the bachelor's. And I was like, I was contemplating, do it. And my sister's like, do it. Bachelor of Science. Bachelor degree is like the minimal. You got to have a bachelor degree. It's just, you know, what it is, the standard. It's like a high school diploma nowadays, you know? So anyway, I stayed in 1 year was the hardest last year because I wasn't able to qualify for as much financial assistance. So I got back into the barbershop. I was working full-time at the barbershop and going to school full-time. It was so tough. But anyway, I graduated with my Bachelor of Science. And so I applied and got the current job that I have now. I just was trying hard. I wanted to get a full-time gig. I just needed to get going. And so I think it took a good year and a half to land this job. I started off as a contractor, the company that I'm at right now. And I contracted with them for 14 months. I was commuting to their San Francisco office, and I was living with Val Reezy. She was helping me get on my feet. Shouts out to the big siblings, man. All the siblings, but definitely the big siblings for holding me down in my crazy life adventures. Always making moves and doing stuff that's crazy and doesn't always make sense, but they have my back anyway. I love you guys. So I got hired on permanent after 14 months in January of 2015, and I've been there ever since. So it was definitely stressful. That's when I learned that I had anxiety, although I didn't know what anxiety was, but it definitely created some anxious feelings in me, like dealing with that corporate life. That's a whole new demon of life. Oh, anyway, when I got promoted to this digital team, I loved it. It definitely stretched me out while I was here in Texas. So it extended my time. I didn't think about quitting much anymore. But I'm a designer, and I also started my own freelancing on the side, and I established myself a name and everything. And it was, picking up, and God blessed me to pick up a couple little jobs, side jobs, to do fun stuff. And so that's just built over time. And so anyway, my 7-year came, and the milestone, and one of the upper managers sent me a message oh, congratulations, next milestone, 10 years. And I know in her heart, she meant it for excitement, and I guess it would be excitement regularly, but I fell into low key depression, bish. 10 years, a decade of my life, oh, hell no. So anyway, then every, we do goal setting. And so last year I was doing my goal setting with a manager. I was going through the major anxiety part where I finally got into therapy and narrowing down, definitely anxiety comes from my childhood with my ways that I deal with things or whatever, the root of it is. But it turns out the job and the way I function with it and the way the culture was the biggest jolt of my anxiety. But anyway, long story short, my goal setting last year, I was setting my goals. I love my manager and my team and who I work with, my direct team. They're so cool, and we all work together. And so really close, not just coworkers, but friends, family, really, if you want to call it. After 7 years of life, communicating with these people I love them. Shouts out, you guys. I love them. I talked this through with all of them so far. So I'm excited. It's time. But I was after we had our goal setting session, I said to myself, my goal is to not be around here next year to set these goals. This isn't living, this isn't how I want to do. So I'm a hard worker. I love what I do. I go hard. I hustle. There's nothing that can stop me. But this schedule and this structure just doesn't work for me anymore for the way my life is. So then, of course, trusty little Latrice is telling me about quiet quitting because she saw the CNN report, and she's she was saying silent quitting. So it made sense. Oh man. And I was what is that? And she was it's just you're physically at work, you're physically doing your job, but you're not ambitious and going above and beyond and just trying to like meet goals and make marks and like that drive to do more, because it just doesn't pay off. And so I was like, oh, I feel like that might be me too. Like, I definitely like didn't leave anyone hanging, or not a slacker, but the anxiety that I feel like trying to complete things and do it, it helps that I'm in a trade that I love and can do it like the back of my hand, but I just couldn't take it. Some of the customers, it's just a lot. And so I decided this week that it's my time. God's opening doors for me, and I just need to take a chance and run with it. Anytime I step out on faith, God's got me. So, people, I'm no longer silent quitting. I am moving on, moving up to my next level. I've been calling it into existence. I've been ruminating on it. I've been really wanting to make it happen. In therapy, I talked about it plenty. And it's my time. And so you heard it first. Ladies and gentlemen, Caligurl is quitting her 9-to-5. You can't always see the end result. Like, that's why it's called stepping out in faith. And God always meets me at the point of my need. So I'm just going to do it. I did it to move to Texas. I did it when I moved to Hawaii 20-something years ago. And I'm going to do it now. And I'm about to blow up. So stay tuned. Along with this weight loss journey and all these changes, I'm just on a roll. Change, change, change. Change is good. So don't be afraid, you guys, to step out and make some changes in your life. Think it through. Talk it through. See what works for you. But we have to live while we're alive. I can't sit around and wait for retirement. Shoot, I don't even think I have a legitimate retirement plan anyway. So if I keep on the path that I'm at, I'm going to be working until the day that I plop, And that, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, so live it up. I feel good. Not every day's perfect. Not every day's great. But God's blessing me. I believe, and I call it into existence, and I push through and help make it happen. I'm excited, you guys. Okay, that was cool. 34 minutes, 25 seconds, 1.33 miles, 3,692 steps. And my heart rate is 112. I don't know if that's because I'm excited telling you guys about my move, or if I worked out. I'm sure I worked a little bit. Oh, and I got a cute new outfit. Yes, but that's what it is. Caligurl Chronicles, episode 1, new life. Wish me luck.